Please join me in welcoming Guillermo Caballero.
Hello.
Welcome. You can have a seat right there.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're here. How are you feeling?
I'm good. Yeah.
Good. All right. It's going to be great. We're going to do amazing. So before we start, I hear that you take shots randomly. So we're going to take some shots. Let's do this.
Great.
Great. So please tell me what this is, because I've heard a lot of people who say that they see you walking around campus with this thing on your shoulder, but like no one really knows what it is. So what is it?
This is called tereré. It's a national drink in Paraguay. Everyone has one in Paraguay. Inside there's water and ice. Well, I should say ice and water. And then in here, this is called Wampa. You have herbs. It's like green and like, it's supposed to be refreshing. And then you basically just pour water in it. And then you drink it like this. And it's like super refreshing. Paraguay is super, super hot the whole year.
So this is like necessary.
Yes. Yes.
Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. Let's
all
go.
right.
It's not spiked, I promise.
Yeah, it's just water.
Here we go. So how do you pronounce it again?
Tereré.
Tereré? No, that was horrible. All right. That is very refreshing. I like it.
Yeah,
It kind of reminds me of like mint tea.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this is obviously one of the ways that you stay true to your culture and your upbringing, but like what are other ways that you bring parts of your culture with you here?
I brought my language, which is an indigenous language called Guarani and Spanish. Those two languages that I treasure, and I held it with pride. In classes, I would like introduce myself not as like Guille first, but like Paraguay first. Like I'm from Paraguay, and like my name is Guille, and like this is my comment for the class or whatever.
Got it.
Because we speak in Paraguay, we speak the indigenous language as well. People mix Spanish and Guarani. We have a different accent. We have a different, like the way we talk is like the indigenous language, Spanish and things like that. So even relating to other people from Latin America or Latinos on campus was a little bit hard because either they wouldn't understand my Spanish and I had to like speak only in Spanish and avoid the Guarani part. So it was a little bit hard, but at the end, it was kind of like bringing some spice in like the Latin American community of Brandeis.
Yeah. Talking to other Latin Americans, like, there were like language barriers as well. So do you think people often look in from the outside and just see it as like one big thing when essentially it's not?
Being part of the Latin American community, sometimes people can look at you and be like, oh, like you're Latino, you like spicy food. And you all speak Spanish, and you all like the same stuff, and you all like tacos and burritos. But in Paraguay, like, I have never tried tacos before coming here.
Would you look at that?
And and plus I don't like spicy food, or like I'm not very good with spicy food at least. So differentiating myself within that community was really important, and just bringing the way my country is through my experience as a Paraguayan gave the opportunity to Brandeis students to say, oh, not all Latin Americans like spicy food, or not all Latin Americans speak the same language.
Everyone who knows you knows that you're super hardworking. Like, you really do the college thing and you're always at it, doing your work really well. Were you always that way? So, like, growing up as well, you were that diligent student?
I would say so, yeah. In high school, I was always like up to something. Like if I saw that my high school was lacking something, I was like, okay, let me just do it. So in high school, besides academics, which I always took seriously because I wanted to apply to schools in the United States, I also was very involved with everyone in high school. And in that way, I started the student union, and through that, I started many clubs.
So one of those clubs that you started was the Astronomy Club.
Yeah.
And your friends have heard this story. It's a good story, and I'm going to let you tell it.
So the Astronomy Club was a very interesting club. Was not at all about astronomy.
Not at all, yeah.
Let me tell you. I came in high school, and as a gay man, I felt that I was lonely my first year of high school, and that nobody else was gay, and that the only way that I could reach out to my community was through like YouTube and YouTubers. But then as I started meeting other gay students in high school, I was like, I'm not alone. So in my second year, by the end of my second year of high school, I decided to start this club through the student union. But I couldn't be like, because Paraguay is very conservative and my school was pretty religious, I couldn't bring it up and be like, hey, I want to start an LGBT club
right.
in high school. So I decided to start an astronomy club first, because the idea came up because I had taken an astronomy class outside of my school. We didn't have astronomy, and we needed to have a faculty member as an advisor for a club to be accepted. So I gave my qualification because I took astronomy class, and I was like, I'm gonna be the advisor for this astronomy club. We created the club, but it was just like maquillage, you know? Like it was not.
It wasn't about astronomy.
It was not at all about
no moons,
astronomy.
no stars.
It was all about gayness. It was all about bringing the LGBT community in my school together secretly. In that way, we not only felt safe, but we also felt more close to each other and more intimate, and we could like share our experiences with each other. We were like 30 to 40 members, surprisingly for me, given that I thought I was the only one my freshman year.
I was doing some reading on laws, and it was really interesting to see the laws surrounding LGBTQ issues in Paraguay.
Paraguay is the only country in Latin America that doesn't have a law where you're protected, you are able to sue someone for discrimination. You can get fired for being gay, you can get beat up, you can get killed. And if it's a hate crime, like someone kills you because of your sexuality, you can't sue.
Nothing can happen.
Nothing, because there's no protection.
There's no law to protect.
And we're the only Latin American, we're like really behind that. And whenever whenever this law is pushed by LGBT advocates in the country, legislators are like, oh, this is a first stepstone for gay marriage, and we don't want that. They
So it's like, oh, we can't do this because that's what's going to happen, and we don't want that.
Yeah.
Got it. Did you see any hard-hitting effects or anything on like the social life or even just the general well-being of like the people in that club?
We had mixed results in a way, because at the beginning we were meant to just become a support group. I led the club as someone who could bring in information. I had to convince gay people in that club that being gay is okay, in a way. Because most of them grew up in a very religious Catholic family, and they were all told that like homosexuality is a sin and things like that. So they always thought that there was something wrong with them in their head. So many of our meetings, like formal meetings, were about like unpacking that concept and being like, look, it's just a part of your identity, and there's nothing wrong with that. And they saw me, they saw other members who were like out and proud. Many of them were not out, but just seeing that other people were out, they were like more likely to
They had the confidence to embrace it.
On the other hand, there were people who came out to their parents, and their parents sent them to conversion therapy. And the club also served to talk about that. I talked about that with members who were out to their parents and were sent to conversion therapy, and I tried to support them in a way. Just telling them, hey, like whatever they're telling you, like they have a lot of bias. Yeah.
So despite you being the founder of the Astronomy Club and like doing so much work to support the people in it, I think it's important to recognize or even reflect on the fact that you were still a student, you know, and you were still, you know, living in your identity in that environment and in that country as well. So did you at any point feel burdened by like all the work you were doing in that space?
It was pretty hard to be in that position. It was really, really hard to see my friends going through a lot of things, like a non-supportive family or fear of being bullied at school, being called names, walking down the hallway. But I always try to just be myself, embrace who I am, and combat that with the protection of my friends and being supported by my family in the first place. And that made me really strong, and I feel that I could be that person to help or support other students who didn't have the same privileges that I had.
Support. Yeah. So I heard that you actually went viral on the internet in Paraguay. You had a whole hashtag around your name and all of that. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Well, yeah, that was probably one of the hardest moments of my life in high school, and one of the defining moments of me growing up and becoming a better person in a way. During one of my last tests on high school, I was a senior. I was about to leave. It was like a week before I left. People knew that I was out, and they were, without my knowledge, following me and tried to target me, but I was always with friends. But in one of the occasions that day that I'm talking about, I had finished my chemistry final, and I was the first to finish, and then I went out of the classroom, and I was just waiting for everyone else. And as I was waiting, 3 students just came and started punching me, they kicked me, and I couldn't understand. Like, actually, I kind of like was knocked out a little bit for like some seconds until like my classmates who were taking the exam came out and they were like, what is going on?
What is happening, right?
And they stopped the attack. And all of a sudden I was in the principal's room with the attack, like the people who attacked me and the principal and myself. And I didn't understand what was going on. Fortunately enough, I had this project as president of the student union where we put cameras on the hallways, and the cameras capture that moment, and the video leaked, and it went everywhere.
Viral, right?
It was in the national news, everywhere. I didn't know how to react, because the next day my parents saw it in the news. They were really hit hard by that, and they were even more like saddened and upset than I was, because I was like, I didn't know what happened.
What was happening, right?
And during that conversation with the principal, it turns out that their reasoning was directly related to my sexuality. And it was a hate attack.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to react, and at that moment, the perpetrators also didn't know how to explain why they did
what they did, right?
They just thought like it was the right way to do.
It's like, this is what we should do because this is what we've been told
Exactly.
to do. Right.
Exactly. I talked to them and I decided to forgive them in that moment. Because first of all, I didn't know what was going on, and second, I thought that I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I gave them a chance to think it over without me taking retaliatory measures.
Yes,
And they did. They did think about it. I took that chance, given that it was so viral, to start a hashtag online where people would just post hashtag I don't discriminate in Spanish in support of that. But I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be a message to the members of this club that no matter what happens, even if that attack has happened to them, people in the world will support them.
Right.
And there will be people in the world who will be there for them, your friends, your family, people who don't know you, people who believe in love and compassion and acceptance and community. So in a way, that campaign, I Don't Discriminate, gave a stronger message than the hate message. It was a message of, we are there for you. We are there no matter what happens to you. We're gonna be there for you, and you're not gonna be alone.
It's really impressive how you were able, one, to forgive the people in that instance, and then like turn that situation, into something that was positive and better, and to like raise awareness for, discrimination, especially in your country and in Latin America. So kudos to you for that. That's a big move that you were able to do that. How do you think that people here in the US, right, can use their privilege to create a more sense of visibility and awareness for like queer folk in Latin America and just globally?
The LGBT fight to get equal rights is in different stages in different parts of the world. Many Americans feel that the battle is won.
Yeah.
Once we got same-sex marriage in 2015, that was it. And that's not the case, because not only do we still need to advance equality in the LGBT community in the United States, but also the fight is in different stages in other parts of the world. Like there are many countries where being gay is still illegal. There are other countries like Paraguay where we don't have protection under the law against being discriminated. So I think that people in the United States and people who are in privileged positions and who can be who they are and be supported, I think that those people have to collaborate in showing other people in the world that that's the case. You know, the It Gets Better movement, the Trevor Project, all of those things. It is important to continue to advance those projects, to send the message that there is a community out there that is advancing and that is willing to support the advancement of your rights in your country. Like that you're not alone. There are people out there who are willing to support you.
As well. All right. And that's that on that. Guillermo Caballero.
Hey.
You did it.
Thank you.